Things I learned from YouTube. Yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, I decided to play Minecraft while I'm talking about this because, you know, like a true professional trying to earn money. Gotta get that kid demographic, right?
Hey, yo, what is up, Epic Gamers?
He's in, boys! He did it! He said it!
Today we are going to be playing this new game I got called Minecraft. This looks pretty cool, man. It looks pretty similar to Fortnite, too.
I really like Minecraft. I know it's kind of weird to make a video about this, even though I kind of haven't done much. But there are things that I did learn, believe it or not. We always get these ideas, these delusions of grandeur, where we think our videos are going to be the empires of this. But they wind up being like this.
Duh, cringe! Duh, cringe! Cringe! Is that all you shit-posting fucks can say? Duh, base, cringe, base, cringe!
And that's just kind of how that always starts out when you start a video. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, videos are always going to be, when anyone starts on any project, or anything in general, no matter what you do, anything that you start off doing is just going to be not that great. But still, a guy like me that strives on perfection, that strives on making that pinnacle peak of excellence, as they say, you get bogged down on this. And then I look at it and I try to go, oh, try to make it more perfected, try to make it look more desirable, try to do this, X, Y, Z, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And that can bog you down and wear you down to the point that you just don't want to do it anymore. And for me, sometimes that spirals out of control to be complete and utter depression. Like you just feel like it's not good enough. But we always get bogged down in these muddled up ideas that everything needs to be the best. And it's all about quality. But quantity is just as good as quality. And in many ways, not every video has to be a Piet Mondrian or a John Singer Sargent or a Leonardo da Vinci. And even then, not everything they did was fantastic. And that's what you need to evaluate on doing. So in many ways, you'll look at a video and you'll see this and you go like, oh, I sound like this. Oh, I do like this. Oh my gosh, where am I going? And that could drive you crazy. In my case, literally going insane.
Mr. President have a very hot day tonight, because I am an alpha male. That's what I'm talking about. Alpha the quack quack.
And then you run across this problem. And I know I'm not the only one that's run across this problem before. It's this vicious cycle of work till you drop, till you work, till you drop, etc. And it starts off like this, where when you start a project, you get super excited, super pumped, ready to go out and get stuff done. Your attention level is good to go. Your skill set and your work ethic is ready to go. And your brain is solid enough to get stuff done. So you do and you start your project. And everything's kind of going off well. You're paying attention to the details. You're super focused on your work. And you're able to get some of the stuff done. But it's a big project. So you get stuff done and you realize, I'm not at a point where I feel good enough. So you keep working and slowly but surely you focus on tedious, minute, mundane details. Your attention level starts to deteriorate. Sometimes you play video games. Sometimes you play that for far too long until you're thinking that you just need a break and your attention level is not strong enough to go back to work on it. Or you just keep working until you just feel like you pass out. that you need some sleep. So you try to get some sleep done, but you still feel super guilty, like I haven't gotten enough done. So you wake up a little too prematurely, not getting yourself enough time to work. So you go back and try to get work done, and at the same time, your attention to detail, your attention span on your work is deteriorating. You're just not getting enough of the effectiveness to get done, but you realize this is a big, massive project, and you need to get it done. So you just keep working until you feel like you got to pass out, and then you wake up again, not getting enough sleep, and you just do this never-ending, vicious cycle of getting this done. And couple that with trying to play video games as breaks, or just do whatever other type of side projects to kind of just keep your mind feeling like I need to do something, then come back to doing it. Sometimes that drive to come back to work doesn't happen in long stretches and periods, and then you feel super guilty about that, but you're too tired to go back to focus on work until the next day. And then when you work again, you're not feeling like you're doing enough. And that can be a huge, massive issue, let alone the fact that you've got to go to work, you've got to meet family, you got to do other things in your daily life just to survive, maybe go to church. And the whole time you're doing those things, all you can do is focus on this big, massive project that you need to get done, and it just eats up your life. And it just consumes you to the point of, I need to accomplish something, but the job is such a tight to get done, this big project, that you just feel like you'll never get it done until you suffer severe and massive burnout.
Oh my God! I don't like this, man. I just don't like this at all. This is really shitty.
It's really bad. Not fun. Wouldn't recommend. Especially if it's your first project. You try to shoot for the moon, but instead you shoot your foot. And that was my issue. I'd start off with one big project. It was so big and mighty, I just hated it and got burnt out. Then I'd try a new big project. I'd hate it and burn out. And do another one, and then I hated it and burn out. And I realized I wasn't doing smaller stuff to kind of keep me going. And I just realized my dreams and aspirations were far too big than what I was capable of. I just was like, well, what can I do? I'm getting older and not having anything to show for it. I knew I had the talents, but I dreamed way too big on dream projects that I wasn't skilled enough to do. But mostly, I didn't have the resources available to do it. I remember specifically in 2010, I was attending college at the time, getting my associates for a computer graphics degree. And I remember our professor got a group of us 3D animators together, and we had knowledge of Flash and 2D to a certain point, and computer graphics in general, and he assigned us to do a 48-hour film festival. Usually those things would give us word, genres, and certain type of specific assignments that we need to incorporate into our film. Well, we didn't just do any type of film. We decided to do an 2D Flash animated film. And so a bunch of us guys would collaborate and get everything together, and it was kind of a stress getting work around the clock type of deal. We got it done, and we won an award for it. I think it was Best Graphics or something. Well, as time went on, I think it hit 2012, that our professor decided to make it a short film, expand upon it, clean up the graphics, and make something more out of it. Got the same people attached to it again, and we were excited to do it. However, slowly but surely, the task was a little bit too big for a lot of us, and each one of us kind of left bit by bit. Most of them were working in 3D, but didn't have a full grasp and concept of Flash and 2D animation the same way that a very small few of us did. And slowly but surely, it wound up just being just me. And this stretched till 2015. It was either 2014 or 2015. Can't fully remember. But I remembered I was just needing a break from it at the time, and I was focusing on bigger 2D animated ideas, short films, just something small and simple too, to kind of just get away from it. And I remembered specifically I had a voice actor that was working on it, a professional one, I had Foley artists, I had groups individually working on my own project, and things were looking good there too, until I got overwhelmed and didn't know what to do. And the animators that I got involved, and there was a good few, realized working for free isn't the best thing. They would go, oh yeah, I'm totally excited on doing it. And then they drop off bit by bit. And I just realized I have no idea what I'm doing. And that fell apart. So I decided to learn the basics by going back to the original film that I worked on in 2012. The 48-hour film project we were doing is a small short film. And I'd work on it and work on it and work on it. And I just realized I was the only one. And I was able to plow through it, but it was becoming a much more daunting task. I'd see other people doing much better stuff, and that got to me too. And I just realized I wasn't feeling that I was good enough to do it. And then slowly but surely, I was abandoning it. I think the last thing that I was working on was trying to make a comic, feeling, okay, at least I can do a comic and tell the stories I want to tell. But even then, that became so big and daunting, I didn't even realize how much that took. And I'm struggling trying to get that done. It just feels like I was bailing out in projects, which leads me to the YouTube videos. A lot of them are big and massive projects. The No One Cares About Animation series I'm doing is huge, with a lot of research attached to it. And while they do look great, it's a lot of effort and not enough reaping the rewards of getting stuff done. Again, I was shooting for the moon, but wound up shooting my foot. Doing these as my first big projects without any experience in knowing what I'm doing wound up being kind of a disaster for me. Well, my dad showed a video by Prager University that had Dirty Jobs guy Mike Rowe discussed on similar yet different scenarios that I'm going through, but after further examination of that video, it's amazing how it dovetailed on some of those problems and gave me some insight on how to overcome them. I feel it disrespectful to nab the entire video and just play it from beginning to end, so I'm just going to take some of the key points to it. I strongly recommend looking at the video in its entirety, and I will show the link right here.
The dirty truth, which is just another way of saying it's my opinion. And in my opinion, you have all been given some terrible advice. And that advice is this: follow your passion. Every time I watch the Oscars, I cringe when some famous movie star, trophy in hand, starts to deconstruct the secret of their success. It's always the same thing. Don't let anyone tell you that you don't have what it takes, kid. And the ever-popular, never give up on your dreams. Look, I understand the importance of persistence and the value of encouragement, but who tells a stranger to never give up on their dreams without even knowing what it is they're dreaming? I mean, how can Lady Gaga possibly know where your passion will lead you? Have these people never seen American Idol? Year after year, thousands of aspiring American Idols show up with great expectations, only to learn that they don't possess the skills they thought they did. What's really amazing, though, is not their lack of talent. The world's full of people who can't sing. It's their genuine shock at being rejected. The incredible realization that their passion and their ability had nothing to do with each other. Look, if we're talking about your hobby, by all means, let your passion lead you. But when it comes to making a living, it's easy to forget the dirty truth. Just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean you won't suck at it.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah, those are some fire points, aren't they? Well, there's more.
Your happiness on the job has very little to do with the work itself. On Dirty Jobs, I remember a very successful septic tank cleaner, a multimillionaire who told me the secret to his success I looked around to see where everyone else was headed, he said. And then I went the opposite way. Then I got good at my work. Then I began to prosper. And then one day I realized I was passionate about other people's crap. I've heard that same basic story from welders, plumbers, carpenters, electricians, HVAC professionals, hundreds of other skilled tradesmen who followed opportunity, not passion, and prospered as a result.
And finally, this.
When people follow their passion, they miss out on all kinds of opportunities they didn't even know existed. When I was 16, I wanted to follow in my grandfather's footsteps. He was a skilled tradesman, could build a house without a blueprint. That was my passion, and I followed it for years. I took all the shop classes at school. I did all I could to absorb the knowledge and skill that came so easily to my granddad. Unfortunately, the handy gene is recessive. It skipped right over me, and I struggled mightily to overcome my deficiencies, but I couldn't. I was one of those contestants on American Idol who believed his passion was enough to ensure his success. One day, I brought home a sconce I had made in wood shop. It looked like a paramecium. After a heavy sigh, my granddad gave me the best advice I've ever received. He told me, "Mike, you can still be a tradesman, but only if you get yourself a different kind of toolbox." At the time, this felt contrary to everything I believed about the importance of passion and persistence and staying the course. But of course, he was right, because staying the course, that only makes sense if you're headed in a sensible direction. And while passion is way too important to be without, it is way too fickle to follow around. Which brings us to the final dirty truth. Never follow your passion, but always bring it with you.
That's a spicy meatball.
There is still so many more banger points in that video that I still haven't covered. So again, I'm going to leave this link right here to the video, and I strongly recommend that you watch it in its entirety. And while this video that I'm doing is a little bit more of a self-reflection on my life, it also is about my YouTube experience, where I would get so excited to do these big projects, but as he said, I don't have the right tools in my toolbox to do this. For starters, I don't have enough tools and a big enough toolbox to put them all in to do these big elaborate projects. I need to do smaller, more simple things to kind of feel that success to do these bigger things. Like he said, staying the course only makes sense if you're staying in a sensible direction. Passion is great, but logic and rationale should really lead and dictate your actions more than just passion should. Passion should be the nudge to get them to where it needs to go, but if I'm not providing food on the table, nor am I fueling my soul and my own artistic drives to do bigger things, then it's meaningless and fruitless on what I'm doing. And these issues that I'm speaking about aren't just aimed and geared towards me. I've seen this happen with big YouTubers that have suffered very similar situations. I've seen this happen with Ego Raptor, Rice Pirate, Rubber Ninja, JonTron, and even Colossal is Crazy, where they'd make these beautiful and gorgeous videos and these memorable and timeless projects of videos that look like that take a lot of man hours and a lot of time and effort to maintain and produce, but they are few and far between. And as much as they have the drive to do more, as time ventures on with these elaborate projects, it starts to clearly see that it gets to them. It takes longer for their uploads, and a lot of them just quit. They don't do what they used to do anymore. This happens with a lot of these animators I see online, with the exception of two, but I have a game theory about them that's kind of sus. Needs more research and another video for another time. And I think I and a couple other new guys that start off in these videos just need to understand that quantity is just as good as quality. Don't necessarily give up on what you want to do, but understand if you want to make this a living, you gotta find other ways to make that possible. And that's just something that I've got to learn how to do, especially for creative fuel to keep me going, like I said before, on bigger projects. Then I think most artists suffer this, where you've got to feel inspired to do it. Oh, I don't feel inspired to get this stuff done. Oh, I got to feel a certain mood to get these things done. Jeez Louise, I know that I've had that issue, and I think a lot of people that do these creative avenues of their lives feel that way too. Man, that can just bog you down too, especially if you do these types of big projects. This whole idea of feeling inspired or motivated to do these things. Well, do I have a story for you? Story time, everybody? All right, tuck yourself in, get yourself a nice little meal, maybe some hot milk, get ready to be tucked in for nappy time, because here's a very good story that I had. So once upon a time, I had issues with my car and it needed to be fixed. So I took it to the shop, and then I needed to be shuttled home. Well, the manager, the head guy of that automotive mechanic area, decided to take me home. And so he shuttled me home, and we were talking about, things about our lives and what we do. And I told him that I was an artist. I told him the jobs that I have, and I was aspiring to trying to use something with my art and social media with this. And I think he knew that I wasn't feeling very inspired or something like that. So he'd tell me this story about the time he met an artist, a professional painter that would do commissions for people. Some were big professional areas and districts that wanted his paintings, and most of them were Western paintings to just hang up onto the walls to make it kind of a decorative piece and so on. And he'd also do portraits, family portraits, and all that wonderful things to pay the bills. So the mechanic manager would meet this professional artist, and he'd look at all his work and he'd go, wow, are there days where you just have to sit down and when you pick up the painting tool, you just have to find a time to feel inspired or something like that? And the painter guy would stop what he was doing. He'd turn around and say, let me tell you something. When you go to work and do the jobs you need to do, are there days where you feel like, man, I can do whatever I want, I can just do this and get the job done, and you feel like you've accomplished things without your day? He goes, well, yeah. And then he also asked, are there also days where you just kind of get up, get ready to go, and you just feel like, man, I don't want to go and do this work. I don't want to go and get anything done or whatever. And the manager guy said, yeah. And he said, well, that's me. See, this is a job. And I love my job. I love painting, he said. But it's still a job. And it doesn't matter if you feel inspired to do anything or not. You've just got to grind through it. There's just going to be days where you just got to soldier through it, and then by the end of the day, you just feel like you've got nothing done or accomplished. And he says, don't you feel that when you do those days? And he goes, yeah. He says, well, that's what I do. I have to go and just kind of slog through it, and then there's days where I feel inspired and I can just paint everything and just paint nonstop. But at the end of the day, I need to get commissions done. I need to get work done. So it doesn't matter how I feel or not. I just plow through it. And maybe, just maybe, while I'm doing this, I start feeling inspired to do things. And he says, that's for the job. And then he'd tell me that story about that, and then I thought about it, and I was like, well, yeah, he's right. And then I really thought about this throughout a couple of months of that going around and swirling through my head. I don't think I'm alone in this, where we have a lot of our tendencies where we have to do something in an exact specific way, that tedious moment, and that type of perfection. And that's the way it's got to be done. And it really isn't about that. It's about getting it done. Focusing on the nuances, focusing on the little teeny tiny bits, That's great and all to make things look good, but that shouldn't be the main focus. It should be just getting stuff done and get stuff out there no matter what it takes. And while I'm still learning how things are done, I just need to kind of plow through this to kind of figure out what needs to be done. Oh, I still love doing these big major videos, and I'll still continue to do that. But I shouldn't be bogged down about, well, I gotta get this done, I gotta do these big videos, because they're massive videos that do a lot of extensive research. And if I don't keep doing stuff, I start losing energy, and I start losing that motivation to do that, and I start feeling like this is not worth it. And the real motivation should be just getting other stuff done, and that's why I should just do these little videos, which I will be doing more of, and then focus on the bigger videos on my other part-times, while doing other projects that need to be done as well. So that's kind of the goal of what's going on. If you're wondering what's going on and what's happening, that's this. I feel like even though I have a small subscriber account, I feel like it's very imperative to at least let them know what's going on that. Because they have a right to know. It's not fair on them, and it's not fair on me to not tell this. The final big hurdle that I suffer from, that I kind of touched on before, is comparing myself to other artists. How some of them have accomplished far more than I have and have their stuff look far greater than I have. And to answer that conundrum that I suffer with, the answer is I really don't have an answer. Sorry about that. Rip. But what I can say is this, is that I should stop worrying what I can't do and focus on what I can do. I am a talented artist, and I do have a lot of skills of my trade. And that's what I should be focusing on. I'm not gonna be the other guys, but I can be the best me I possibly can be. That's really all I gotta say about that. So to wrap this video up, while I'll still do these big projects, I mean, the last video that I did for the No One Cares About Animation series, there was so much more information. I gotta go and add more to it, revise that video. While working on the next bit of the series, while I'll still be doing that, I need to do these smaller videos to kind of keep my channel going. And to keep me going to be motivated to do the bigger stuff. Smaller successes to bigger ones. I need to do smaller art projects so that way I can be motivated to do bigger art projects. And yes, I need to go back, finish my comic, and to finish the last 2 animation projects I meant to finish a long time ago. So yeah, that's kind of what needs to be done. Will I be able to do it within a year? Don't know. But let's do these baby steps first and see what happens. So yeah, that's all I've got. So I guess I need to finish this video off with something. So here you go.